Michael ended up taking my first Cementa is. So a contemporary art festival that's based in Kandos. Kandos is about 3.5 hours west of Sydney, a tiny country town. When I moved to Kandos 35 years ago, there was a performance happening at the cement works. Every day the limestone would be carried into town, the men would grab the bucket, they would dance with the buckets, they would unclick it, turn it around, empty the limestone. From that 35 years ago, the cement works has become more mechanised until it finally closed down. Anne Finnegan came to Kandos and decided that she'd buy a residence there, and it also had a shop front, and this is part of the shop front of the residence. She started inviting artists that she knew to Kandos, and two of those artists were Georgina Pollard and Alex Visser, and they all got together and thought it would be fantastic if we got a whole group of people, if we showed the work that people have been producing while they've been staying with Anne, and out of that came the Cementa Art Festival. Now, part of the festival is the annual program, or part of Cementa is an annual program. So it's not artists from Sydney that are parachuting work into Kandos, but it's people coming to Kandos to develop work. For Cementa 13, there was a focus on local. So a response to the place and a response to the community. There was a series of workshops, a series of forums through the artist residencies, and then spaces that weren't ever thought of using for installation work, like Clandella State Forest, were activated. For Cementa 15, the view was wider, because we couldn't keep just concentrating on the same town, the same space. So we started with a focus on more regional work. We had artists like Liz Day exhibit in in Cementa 15. She worked with local knitters groups and individual knitters and sculptors to create her the third F, the Flora, Fauna and Fungi show. This is a work by Mark Booth that was installed in part of the cement works. We tried to get into the cement works to be able to use that as a space, but we were locked out by big walls. We were sort of like caused people to think, no, those Cementa artists can't come into our cement works. We were very much locked out. The cement works has since been sold, and so we're hoping that there might be an opportunity to be able to use some of the works. We developed, as part of Arana Arts, did a project called Left Field with Aboriginal artists that were mentored by other Aboriginal artists. And this is Alicia Lonsdale's work. No, that was Alicia Lonsdale's work. Alan Sharko also worked in the same area as Alicia in Cementa 15, and was sort of like tending the area that Alicia had installed in the old tennis courts that were the managers' courts of the cement works. Nola Farnham did the Ministry for the Future, and she created all these amazing artists and artworks that all came out of local areas. And part of the way that people went through Cementa was a program of tours. So the artists that were exhibiting took people on tours. This work was a work by Karen Golan from Bathurst, and it was very pretty, but it came out of a connecting, of trying to break down the isolation that happens when a person is dying through a culture that she created within her own home. Jason Wing took this very, very quiet space of the local church and used it to have a conversation about communication by bird sounds and the voice of Aboriginal people being closed and shut down. Lucas Eileen used, I never realised we had laneway spaces in Kandos until he came, and he did the line describing a cone. This was a work by Fiona Davis that was put in a junk shop, huge amount of junk, and it was a blood on silk series where there was a sound work of a selling of blood products and body products. The Kandos Projects is used for a local salon. So in the door there was a Robin Beckham work, but inside all of the local artists had been invited to exhibit their artwork, which was sort of like from your typical landscape paintings of your hobby artists. Adam Hill honoured the Davey people, who are the traditional owners of the area that Kandos sits on. And this work was it was a very active work, and people physically engaged with it on the street. Jenny Brown worked with the community of Woollaa, which is about 100 k's north, who had all been moved out because of the coal mine. I think there's only eight families left within this village. And John Mundine worked with a previously very silent Aboriginal community in Kandos, who are now saying, we need to do projects together, we need to work together. And that has sort of like created a ongoing rolling movement.